Daptime, a time dedicated to applying principles that invigorate, motivate, and elevate. Daptime, a time where dope, adventurous people think individually to mutually empower. Full episodes can be found at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website at www.itsdaptime.com. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Daptime21, Twitter at Dap_time, Facebook at Daptime, and YouTube at Daptime TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for your continued support. We're proud to partner with Harrell Eyewear to bring you this episode, makers of stylish and innovative luxury prescription and non-prescription glasses for all occasions. For more information, visit the partner link on our website, or for direct, go to www.harrelleyewear.com. Harrell Eyewear, never lose your identity. It's time.
Yo, welcome back for another episode of Daptime. I am AJ, also known as B-Dub, Bobby Westbrook, and as always, I'm here alongside my partner in crime, the one and only, world-renowned Big Dame. And that groove, well, you know by now, in-house maestro is putting it down on the one, Pete Nice. The three of us are delighted to welcome you back for another episode of Daptime, wherein we hope we make you laugh, learn something, and live your life a little bit better. Yo, Daptime, this has been a minute, but we're back here on Dap Life today to jump into Dreamers. We're going to talk a little bit about Dreamers for the next couple of episodes. Big Dame and I are excited to do that. If you've been with us for a while, you know this year is all about building for better, striving for greater. And no better time in life to dream than when you're looking for something more. So with that, it is now time. Relax your spine, activate your mind. Let's get it. What up, Big Dame?
What is happening, bro? What is happening?
Sticking and moving, baby. Sticking and moving.
You gotta move after you stick. It's law. It's law.
That is law. So much for the bob and weave.
Yeah, man.
Big Dame, recently, in entertainment world, we had the Oscars. It got me thinking, so much is made. I mean, we've seen great movies over time. In fact, let me start this segment by asking you, what's one of your favorite movies of all time?
One of my favorites of all time? Probably, just off the top of my head, Training Day is one of them. I like Training Day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gritty film.
But I could also, if you catch me on another day, I could say Remember the Titans. I'm very broad.
Okay, they're for the people.
Depends on the mood.
If you feel like a neighborhood guy.
Yeah,
All right. So one of the things I love about the Oscars is, most of us don't catch every movie that's been out that's nominated, right? Mm-hmm. I can think about a few occasions where I saw something like this is Oscar worthy. But years ago, I had a friend who, we'll call him the Triangle to protect his identity. Because I used to say he would get this content from the Triangle, the ether out there. Mm-hmm. But he had everything that was being reviewed by the Oscars. And it would be cool to kind of check these films out and be like, this is what people are watching. Mm-hmm. This is what the people voting are looking at. And then there's those performances that stand out, right? It's like either an actor really embodied something that you're like, man, that's memorable. They did that well, knowing who they are, seeing their previous works, etc. Mm-hmm. So I love all of that. So it got me wanting to throw this Ask Big Dame as opening the segment today.
Uh-oh.
I want you to think about Big Dame as the star of an Oscar winning, not just nominated, but winning film. And so I have three questions for you. So first, I would love to know, what genre of film would you choose?
Probably some sort of see, that's hard, man, because on one hand I would love to choose a comedy, but I would probably say more of a drama, crime, Training Day-ish type of movie. Action.
So kind of the action, suspense, thriller. Would you skew this film heavy on the suspense and a twist, or would you skew it more towards the action?
I think there would be a healthy balance. I'm all about balance.
Healthy
so I would have a healthy balance. There would be some suspense there, some twists and turns, but definitely heavy on the action as well. Definitely.
Okay, so now you're in the action mode. Yeah. Are you doing your own stunts?
Depends on the check. Depends on the check. Preferably, yes, though. I'm on some Jet Li type stuff, you know.
Jet Li, okay. So the action is centering around fight scenes, or are you like in these heavy chases, jumping over cars, rolling on the hood,
shootouts, the whole nine? Yeah.
So this is epic action. Okay, got it. All right, now let me ask you this: who would do the soundtrack for this film?
Man, it would be star-studded, man. But it would be, by today's standards, it would be an old school roster. It would probably be, you'd have Tribe Called Quest on there. You would probably have some. I'm sure you'd have some Snoop Dogg and Dre, some of their early stuff. Wu-Tang. I mean, you'd have that kind of vibe. You know what I mean? It would definitely be a hip-hop laden soundtrack, I believe.
All right. So with that, I'm going to give you one of 3 DJs to choose from who produces all the tracks.
Okay.
Premier.
Okay.
Jazzy Jeff.
Okay.
Or Maceo from De La Soul.
Whew. Love all 3 of them. Let me say that first.
Or let me give you one. Let me give you a fourth as a bonus because A, B, C, and D sounds good.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you the Mechanics from out west.
Okay.
Who are dropping everything for E40.
Okay. I would say probably, and I'm gonna tell you why. Initially, I would say Premier, but he has a very pigeonholed. It works for him, and I love it. But he has a very pigeonholed sound. I think when you hear a Premier beat, you know what it is. I would probably go with Jazzy Jeff, just for the simple fact that for a soundtrack, you're going to need to touch some different frequencies. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we've got Jazzy Jeff producing Tribe, which by itself just sounds
crazy,
nutty.
Right? Yeah,
because you know he's going to throw in crazy jazz loops out of nowhere over top of some smooth soul music with some R&B in there somewhere. It's just going to be ridiculous.
And you know he and Q-Tip are going to collaborate. You know, because Q-Tip
Tip is not going to let you just. Yeah, he's not going.
Exactly.
He's going to touch it.
Exactly.
You want some Sonny Smith or something like that out there that or some Yusef Lateef. Okay, I like the soundtrack. I'm getting a feel for it. Before I give you this last question, I'm going to throw a bonus question at you. Go ahead. Sounds like you want to add something?
I was just going to add one more artist, probably Mos Def. I had to throw him in there, too, for good measure.
The Mighty Mos. Okay.
And Talib. Go ahead.
Okay. So you're going Black Star. Is it going to be a Black Star song, or are you going to give each of them a solo?
They can do their own, or they could be on with different people. I just want them in the studio. I want them in the studio. Yeah.
Okay. So now, do you have a name for this movie? What kind of name would you come up with?
Man,
I'm gonna let you think about that. I'm gonna let you think about that while I give you this third question that I had prepared, because that's a big point. So every movie, usually your star has some quirk, right, or some signature element of their character. Mm-hmm. Give you 3 options: the car, or a pet. And it doesn't have to be the pet has to be in it. Maybe he had a relationship with a pet, and so there's something there. Every time he sees a cat or a dog or whatever, brings that up. Uh-huh. Or an accessory, jewelry, a hat, some accessory to his whole fit that it's every scene you got. Of the 3, which would be Big Dames?
Probably would be my fitted hat. Definitely my fitted hat. I would have
the fitted
special fitteds for each event. Yeah, that would tip you off that I'm there. If you see the freshest fitted that you've never seen yet, It's probably him. I see it over there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So give me a name for the movie. Now I have one based on what you've given me. I've got a name for the movie I like, but you give me a name for what this movie would be.
Man, you know what? You know what would actually be cool? Because they're doing so many remakes of movies right now. So I could see this being a remake. So I'm gonna steal an old movie, but it's an action thriller. You remember the movie Point Break? Where the surfers, Keanu Reeves, the surfers, they're robbing banks and all that type of thing.
Okay.
We could do like a remake of Point Break. We wouldn't be surfers though. We'd be doing something else. You know, we'd be maybe we'd be run the basketball circuit, but after the games, we can meet me at the spot, that type of thing. We're going to take one on.
Okay. So I have you as this undercover agent who's infiltrated this rec league, and you're known for your fitteds. Everybody knows you. In fact, maybe your character's nickname is Fitted, because you always got a fresh fitted, right?
Could be.
And in this urban community, you got a full-time gig. You got that works in the hood, but you kind of blend in. But you walk this fine line. That's kind of the backstory to your character to get in the circle. Then you get in the circle, and you're there to take them down.
I like that.
So let's call the movie The Wreck.
The Wreck.
The Wreck.
The Wreck. I like that.
With kind of a play on, you're wrecking things. The crew is a wrecking crew. It's a wreck league. You have all many of these layers of it. Getting wrecked on the court. So you got recognition. You got actually wrecking, and recreational. All of it there.
I like it.
The Wreck.
I like it. We need to get Jordan Peele on the phone or somebody, man. Let's do it. It can happen right now. Let's do it.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. This is one of those things where I feel like the vibe is good. The interest now, that's fall for fun and for play. Was there anything that you saw in the last year, Oscar worthy, anything about the Oscars that you took away and you were like, yo, that was really a memorable moment and you treasure? Or did you not really pay attention to the Oscars this year?
I really didn't. One thing that jumped out to me with the Oscars, I think it was last year when I was watching, was that, and I've noticed it for a few years, there's always so many movies that I am not familiar with at all. And I'm like, wow, how did they win? Wow, why are they getting all this attention? Not that they're not good movies. I was just like, right. I've never heard of them. So that's interesting to me. But this year I actually did not pay much attention at all. I do know that
your man. You about to talk about your man?
Yeah.
The one for the chairman?
Yes, I know he got something. So, and that's about all I paid attention to this year, to be honest with you. I'm being honest.
No, you got to be.
Yeah.
I think so let me ask you this. What makes for an Oscar-worthy performance for you?
For me, I think it's believability. It's a believability, but it's range. So, for example, so I think it was a travesty that Denzel did not get an Oscar for Malcolm X. I think he nailed it. I think and what he had played up until that point, he played like undercover cops, regular cops. He played a lot of different roles and did very well at them. But this was, you have to capture a historical figure. That's a big task. You know what I mean? This is somebody who's already lived. You're not just playing a character. You're playing somebody's life who's actually was here. So for him to embody it and to play, to capture it like he did, I think he did an excellent job. And I think that was terrible. And then I thought it was odd that he got the Oscar for training day for playing this rogue cop, So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I definitely think you have to capture the role. It can't be gimmicky. It has to be classic. It has to be a classic role.
I think you're right. It's kind of like even Will Smith with Ali. I thought he did a very good job with the kind of character like Malcolm. These are people where we see so much film on them, images and snapshots of their life, and it was not just Will's representation of his speech cadence and his persona, but it was him in the ring he really reflected and actually brought to life for many some of the things that we see in black and white and we see such a distant view of because of how old the film is. Mm-hmm. But he brought to life those moments in a way of a young Cassius, which most people don't even really think about when they think Ali. Like most people think of his more recent moments, or they think, the draft and beyond, but they don't think about Cassius. And when you see images of Will performing as Cassius, I thought that was Oscar worthy. I think, to do justice to such an iconic figure, that alone just kind of should put a seal on it, But
I agree.
I don't get a vote.
I agree.
I don't get a vote. Final question around the Oscars. As you see this, and maybe this is a bigger conversation, but what do you think about, when you think about what actors go through, a lot of times you hear stories about actors putting on weight and going through a lot. We know some actors, some roles they never come back from. Mm-hmm. I think about the guy that played the Joker that took his life, later, or at least it's speculated took his life. I don't, but, sometimes, people talk about getting out of certain spaces that they go into, they can never come back. Like they just seem to break something in their psyche that really ravages them. To have that graded and evaluated, to have a big part of your work be graded and evaluated. Do you think that the Oscars are set up in a way to really reflect appreciation for the arts itself? Or do you think there's something about it that needs to be redone in order to really be healthier?
See, that's tough, man, because I think art is so subjective in the first place. I don't know how you redo it, because you can't just say if you hit these bullet points you're in. You know what I mean? Or we'll put you up. We'll vote on you. It's subjective, and a lot of the movies that win, a lot of the people that get awards for their roles, are movies that I probably wouldn't even look at. But somebody's looking at them from a different eye, different perspective. So I think it is what it is. I think that, I think if you choose to be an artist, you have to one, do it for you. And you have to be willing to accept that even if nobody likes, if I'm a painter and I paint a piece, I have to be willing to accept that nobody may not like it. I may be the only person that likes it, but if I truly did it from my heart and it fulfills me in some way, that should be enough. You know what I mean? And I think if you're doing that, I think the money and the things will come. But ultimately, that has to be the mindset. So, for the people that get caught up into roles, that's inevitable. I think for that to happen a little bit, but for the people that get lost in roles and things like that, I think it's unfortunate. But I don't know what could be changed to accommodate more people. You know what I mean?
I think there's something to be said for how we weight winning and losing. I've always felt that, you definitely want the W. You want to be playing for the chip, and you want to win the chip. That's what everybody wants to aim for. But I think a realistic, respectable expectation is I put in the work, I gave my best effort, and I'm pleased that what I put out met or exceeded my expectations with whatever my abilities are. So whether that's in sport or whether that's in film, as an artist that you paint, you draw, you sculpt, or you're a mail carrier. You want to be, mail carrier of the month. If you get up and you give your best effort with everything that's in your lane, in your path, you face those obstacles the best of your abilities. You got to be willing to live with it at the end of the day. And I think sometimes people get to the end of themselves and they don't like the results. And that struggle, not being able to let go of where you took your L's, let's assume, Denzel looks at Malcolm X and he's like, man, I really wish I would have nailed this scene better. We don't know where he's grading himself. He's got to be at peace because we see it one way, but he may not. And And those kinds of things, I think, make people's lives so unfortunate. I'll end you on a high note with this segment. Give me who's gonna do. Every movie's got that theme score of the artists you named. Who would do, or someone you didn't name and now you think you'd want on your soundtrack? Who would be on the score? Who would actually be on the rec score?
The main joint.
The main joint.
I'm gonna say Tribe, Snoop, and Mos, with Dre in there on the production, cooking up along with Jeff.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You're being greedy. You're being greedy. So,
I want the whole plate.
You have Dre
Yeah.
co-producing with Jazzy Jeff a beat, which
Right.
by itself sounds insane.
Which Tip will have input on.
I have no doubt.
So
He's going to find that rare thing to loop. You have Q-Tip, and I mean, because Tribe really right now is missing Fife. So do you get maybe a bonus hidden track from Fife somewhere that never got released, or
maybe? But
that would make it to me smoky. That would just
you got Mos. That's why you throw Mos in there. Not that he's Fife, but you kind of help fill the void.
So you put the Mighty Mos on and Snoop. That would be such a nasty track.
I think so.
But ooh, that would be nasty. That would be so ugly.
I really think it would. I really think we need to call those. We need to try to get them together to do.
we have a hit in the making.
We need a finder's fee or something.
We book that, trademark all of it. Big Dame, want to definitely take a moment to spotlight and celebrate. We're in the month of May, and as we're recording this, we are creeping up on this year's Mother's Day. So we just want to take a moment in this episode to definitely say to every mother out there, everyone whose mother is with us or has passed away, make sure that you take the time to reflect on the good and to celebrate the nurturers in your life. Some of us, some people grew up and didn't have their mom in the home, didn't have a good relationship with their mother, whatever, but someone nurtured you. And so whoever that person is, take a moment this Mother's Day to get out, do something to celebrate what they've given you. And that is a moment and an opportunity in life to pursue your dreams. As we talk about dreamers, real key to dreamers, every dreamer's journey is that someone birthed them into this world. Someone nurtured them to the point where they could start their journey to pursue their dream, to discover a dream. And so for those who were the carriers of our dreams before we even knew how to dream, we say thank you. That is our Daptime Spotlight for today. Big Dame, keep it live.
Yes, sir.
Feels like forever since we talked about Keep It Live, but keeping it live, where we focus on politics and social issues and lifestyle stuff. Leading into what we're going to talk about in our Dreamers series, I got to thinking about the Dreamers Act and the people that are affected by it, who are most directly impacted by the yays and nays of whether or not we're going to support it, allow it, etc. And so it got me thinking, what is the real issue behind the Dreamers? So, one of the things, it's not one of those just catchphrases for the sake of it. It's a Development Relief and Education for Alien Minors Act. So it really does, in many ways, define what the program is supposed to offer them, which is a path towards real inclusion, citizenship. I mean, they were brought here as minors. The act is supposed to fulfill the promise of opportunity to get a good education and to pursue a life of wellness, etc., here in the United States. But we've seen a lot of things happen with Dreamers. First of all, I'd just love to get your thoughts in general about the issues that surround them and the fight for inclusion and respectability. So
I think that, for one, I think if if something was put in place, it sounds like what it is was an act put in place to help them achieve the American dream. These kids didn't bring themselves here. They were brought here. Doesn't matter what you think about their parents. They've been here some of them since they were babies. I mean, like before less than 1 year old. And all they know is this country, pretty much. So at 15, 16, 17, how do you now tell a lot of these kids, well, sorry, you're not legal, so you just got to go? It sounds wrong to me. You know what I mean? So I think if a government, one thing for me, if a government is going to stand up and say, this is what we're doing. Now, this party may not agree, this party may not agree, whatever, fine. But once it's set in place and signed, sealed, and delivered, I think we have an obligation to the country, to the integrity of the country, to stand by what we said, right? So, if it was said that, this Dreamers Act is in effect for these kids, I don't see how we can come back, which has been done, and say, oh, we're pulling this back. Sorry. Somebody lied to you 16 years ago when you were 1. But now you can't fulfill that dream. Because what does that do? How fair is that to the kid who's 1 year old and grew up believing in an American dream, right? And dreaming. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it's all about. It's about dreaming for better. You know what I'm saying? That's my car. We all played That's My Car back in the day. Right. You know what I mean? Sitting on the porch and that nice car with them BBS rims goes by. Oh, that's my car right there. Right. So, I mean, it's like.
Not the BBS rims.
The gold BBSs. But.
You're taking me back to my BMW 626. I was all over Hawk's car, man.
That's it, man.
635 CSI, man. I wanted that puppy.
That was it. That was all anybody wanted in life. I wanted that more than I wanted food sometimes. But I mean, that's what it is, right? I mean, you dream to dream a bigger dream, right? And so these kids are growing up like, wow, they have shelter and food and water, stuff that they may not have had. And then, you're dreaming I want to own my own business. I want to go to college. I want to, whatever it is you want to do as you grow. And those dreams get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then finally somebody says, you know what? Sorry, this is over. And seemingly cut off your means. Now, we all know you can still make it despite anything. But if you seemingly cut off a kid's lifeline, that could be detrimental to somebody's life. So I think you got to be a lot more careful, when you make that kind of a decision than to just say, oh, well, not my problem. They're not legal. I'm worried about legal Americans. You know what I mean? So those are my thoughts.
What does it say about our political system, though, that you have people who they're in the most influential position to be the face of, people who have lower moral standards. I mean, you're right. I think most people would say, if I see a kid crawl up on my steps, starving and hungry and needing just some, I don't want to come in. I don't need a place to sleep. But if you have a slice of bread,
right,
to get me through the night to the next day and be okay with me sleeping on your porch, can I have that?
Right.
I think most people would find a way to be a resource.
Right.
But to see essentially the same in these dreamers, to your point, and be so insensitive to go to your local politician and say, we want you to be against that. What do you think it says about our political system?
I'm gonna go back to what you have so well eloquated before. America's a business. That's what it tells me. It's a business. And so they're looking at the bottom line. And you can look at, and it doesn't matter if the bottom line is people. You know what I mean? People are no more than a resource to this country, to the government. You don't believe me? Look at the hospitals. You don't believe me? Look at the schools. The schools are developing people. The hospitals are supposed to be fixing people. And if the bottom line ain't right, we'll forego a few resources. I mean, it's just what it is. So I'm not surprised that we would look even further down our nose when it came to somebody who's not, You don't have paperwork for here?
Where's your paperwork?
Yeah.
Where's your paperwork?
You don't get, hey, look, you don't got no freedom papers? No. So, I mean, it's not surprising. It speaks to integrity. And I think that's something that, man, I feel like if you don't keep nothing else in your life, please keep your integrity, because that's so valuable. And people throw it away without thinking twice.
You're backing up to what we're going to get into a little bit when we actually talk about our focus on dreamers in the next segment. But what's interesting to me is it also kind of mirrors some things that we talked about over on Game Time with the draft and the NFL. I think there are elements there of, you're trying to protect something for people who aren't taking advantage of opportunity they have. Mm-hmm. And yet you don't want somebody else to get it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, but they're going to take advantage of it. They're going to run. They're not only going to run the rock for you, they're going to score every fourth touch. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, you got Willie, who you can't bank on him on a 4th and 6 inches.
Right.
At 6'3", 230.
Right.
It's like, but he shows up for the meals. He's on the bus. He's got you paying for, his medical care. It's stuff like that. So I think there's bits of that there, and I know we'll talk about that more in the next segment. But when you think, here's part of what drives this for me. The Dreamers are coming in. It's not like they're flying in first class. They're not even flying in coach and get dropped at the airport. I mean, you got those coming across the border are coming through dangerous and perilous roads just to make it safely on our side of the border.
Right.
And fleeing in many cases, at best, they're just fleeing unhealthy living conditions, really substandard for health and wellness. Mm-hmm. Let's not talk about the danger that some of them are actually fleeing.
Right.
Life and death situations. And whether their parents sent them or whether they came with parents or a relative or a friend of the family, for others, it's the cost. I mean, you hear these stories of people coming in from parts of Asia where families worked, saved to pay for you to be in a cargo hull of a ship and make it over here, weeks on the open sea. God knows what happens to you, what you have to survive to get here. Mm-hmm. Avoiding being swept up in human trafficking and all kind of stuff like that. I mean, it's very for an opportunity. And I'm not saying that we have to make sure everybody that comes in the door has, a place to stay and food to eat and a job and all these. I'm not saying that you have to provide that, but if they're willing to get here and then work to earn an opportunity, I'm hard pressed. They're willing to do what they got to do to get to school, not knowing the language, but they're going to learn the language enough to get a job. They're going to learn how to pay their taxes enough to support the system. They're going to learn how do I start a business? I'm saying they're going to do everything everyone else has to do to get a foot in the door. That, to me, you have to be a really callous individual not to support that. What is impressive to me, more than how much they're opposed, is what it says about their ability to hold on to their dream. Because it's like in the face of that kind of adversity, in the face of politicians and a system that is pressing against them, they're willing to still fight. They'll go back and then come back. They'll get sent out and they'll find a way back. They'll get sent out and they'll go make it somewhere else and then come back a different way. I mean, their fight for their dream is unyielding. And that is impressive to me. What they represent in the spirit of a dreamer.
So, all right, let me ask you this then. So is that, in essence, is it the power of their dream? Or is it the dream pushing them? Or is it the fear or the disdain for what they're running from? Or are those two things intertwined?
I love it. I think that they're intertwined. And I think that, again, that's what I think we'll hit that more in the next segment. But I think you're right. I think there's something in the ingredient of, not fulfilling your dream, what that gets you. Mm-hmm. And you would rather have that kind of demise in the fight to pursue your dream than to sit and wait for a disastrous end. So if staying at home, I'll die hungry on this farm. Well, rather than die hungry on the farm, I'll fight to find food, or I'll die in this city because of crime and what's going on. Well, I'd rather die in the fight to find safety and provide a safer living condition for my family. It's that, like, America promises hope. If I can't get to America and I make it to Canada, I mean, look at what's going on with people leaving Middle Eastern places that aren't safe for them. Syria, places in Africa where people feel like, they're dealing with all kind of genocide and hunger and stuff like that. People get to Europe, if I can make it to Greece and get to a refugee camp, well, that's one step closer. They'd rather be a station forward than to be stuck. And so I think that the fear feeds the dream to some degree. You just actually said this in the last Game Time episode, actually, which if Daptimers, you haven't gone over and checked out Game Time, you need to do it. But you just made that note about using fear the right way.
It's true.
Right. So I think that's a part of it, man. I want to be respectful. I know we got to get to kicking off. We're backing up to our stuff. I want to take a quick second and recognize one of our longtime partners, How We Feeling. Daptimers, if you have not done so, get to their website. They are continually to reinvent and extend what you can do on these journeys. How We Feeling is a platform that is revolutionizing the way that people authentically engage online. You can track journeys. We've talked about them from all kinds. Maybe your dream is your journey. You can actually start charting that and connect with people who are connected to your dream. You want to become a chef, connect with other chefs. You want to become a photographer, connect with other photographers. You just want to move better in your career or in your job, connect with others like you. And you can start authentically engaging in the myriad of things that we feel and experience on the way to to realizing our dream. And for authentic engagement, haven't seen anything that's doing it better. So check them out today, www.howwefeeling.com. Everybody's got a story. Everybody's got a journey. Just change where you're sharing yours online today. Big day. Yes. Dreamers. We've been talking about, it seems redundant, but we wanted to kick this off and talk about the power of our own individual dreams. When you look at coming out of the pandemic, now America is 70% vaccinated, a little bit more than I think. We're in the position to really reactivate. What do we want to see going forward? And part of this was sparked by a conversation with a guy who said some of the things we said early stages and throughout the 2020, that some of what we were seeing the world embrace in the pandemic, some people might not want to let go of when we get back to normal life. And so one of the things he was telling me is that he's got a whole new vision for spending time with his family. He's changing his career to make sure that he can be present with his children in the way that he's gotten to do. He said he's got a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old, hadn't been able to spend the kind of time he spent with his family since his oldest son was 3. And so, getting with them the last year, he's like, I'm not willing to sacrifice the next 3 years with him and the next, 5 with my oldest son if they go off to college. If I don't, to make more money. He's like, I would rather make less money, but be home than to be on the road as much as I was. So it got me thinking about this whole idea of what kind of dream, what do people have a life dream? Do you think people are really dreaming, have a dream? Or do you think there are more people who are really just kind of like cattle being led to slaughter?
I mean, I think you got both kinds of people. I think what happens with a lot of dreamers, so to speak, is that the dreams aren't specific, right? So the dreams are you just throwing a net out there and catch some fish. You know what I mean? What kind of fish? You know what I mean? So for example, the big dream, I've had it. Most everybody's had it. I want to make a lot of money, right? It's one of my dreams. I want to make a lot of money. Okay, well, you got to be specific with that, because you can make a lot of money and a lot of other things can go wrong. You know what I mean? Do you want, I mean, that's not necessarily success if everything else is not balanced and in order. So I think that's one of the things that we have to do. I think that's one of the things that the pandemic, to what you were talking about with the gentleman that you had the conversation with, I think the pandemic for a lot of people has reshaped their dreams. You know what I mean? In a sense, it's opened their eyes to different things. You know, the money is not necessarily the dream. The dream is, you know, to be comfortable and whole with my family. Sounds like what he's saying. But I think a lot of people, it just kind of reshaped and helped to whittle down the ultimate dream. So, so I think people are dreaming. And then I think you have some people, if you throw a wide dream out there, like, I just want to make some money, people start following, how do I make money? You know what I mean? And if you're not careful, you get caught up in that. We talk about, we're both like rap music, hip hop music. And we talk about how we talk a lot about how some of the new music is, some of it's good, some of it's not so. But one thing I noticed about the music today that you did not see in the 80s, 90s, and 2000 even, back then, you didn't want to sound like anybody else. You didn't want to look like anybody else. If you could, for one, it just wasn't cool. For two, if you did, somebody was going to call you out for biting somebody else's style, right? You'd be original. So now that's the trend, but it pays a lot of money. What are they doing? What are they wearing? Okay, that's it. Let's go down the same road, and you'll see 10 groups, 10 artists do the exact same thing, exact same beats, exact same cadences, nothing original, but they're getting paid. And so you have to ask yourself, was your dream to just get paid, or was your dream to have a fulfilling career? And if that's the case, you don't want to just be led like cattle. So I think you just have to be very careful. You have to be aware, of what's going on.
I think you make a great point. The specificity of your dream is imperative. I think back to being young. You're like, I just want to be successful. And for me as a kid, it bounced from being a athlete all the way to interior design to having my own business, not knowing what kind of business I wanted. But just my mind, especially the creative part of my mind, wanted to craft something and build something out bigger than me. And I know we're going to tackle it in the next episode and really talking about how you get specific about your dream. But for this, just to kick off, I think activating that part of you that dreams, activating that part of you that sees something bigger, wants something more, is willing to imagine what life's possibilities could be. The what if, we both talk about our faith, and one of my favorite scriptures is God will do exceedingly above what you can ask or imagine. And, the secret to anything we believe in is our willingness to believe in it, to believe in the principles, the precepts that it touts. Unless you're walking around here believing in nothing, which in that case, if all you got is believing in you, I don't know how you make it when you come to the end of you. But to each his own. But for me, I think what I love about that passage is it gives me a reason to dream as big as possible. And I think making time, that's one of the things I think we've heard consistently from people coming on the other side of this pandemic is that, man, during the pandemic, I've had more time to recapture parts of me that were being lost to work, just to working towards something without anything more than what the money could do for me, not what kind of life I really want, right? So getting married for the sake of getting married, having kids for the sake of having kids, but not really thinking about what kind of life do I want to have with these kids? What kind of life do I want to have with this spouse or this partner? And even now when we talk about socialism, what kind of world do we want to live in, and how do I want to contribute to that? Like that, those are the kinds of things I think when you start if talking about it, something I think in a dreamer, something stirs in you, how you want to contribute to that. So my question is, should an element of your dream include what it allows you to do to give back to the world around us?
Should an element of your dream include what you need to do to get back to the world around us?
Or what it would allow you to do, right? So if your dream is to have a lot of money, is it because you think that's going to give you the freedom to give to causes that matter to you? If your dream is, go ahead. You get my point.
Yeah. No doubt. I think that it should include that. For example, a lot of people dream. One of my dreams, I want to make a lot of money so I can, take care of family. That's one of the things I like to do. I like to be able to do nice things for family and things of that nature. So I think you have to have the end result in mind for two reasons. One reason, so you'll keep pushing, because you have to know what you're pushing for. For two, you have to remember, in the case where you get all the money, but you're never home, you never have time, you can never be around, you can never do anything with your family, then you have to ask yourself, wait a minute, this wasn't how it was supposed to end, right? It wasn't supposed to end like this. It was supposed to end with me doing all these great things, taking these great vacations, being available to really, be there for my family. So I definitely think that you should have that in mind along with your dream, because that'll help you from getting led astray on that cattle prod like you talked about. You know what I mean? Someone wanted to ask you about that too, though, because I think some people get led down the wrong path because they just kind of get stagnated in their dream. Mm-hmm. And so they're not aware, so there was a turn here or there that we missed because we were just watching the set of cheeks right in front of us and we just walking, right? We're not looking at the dream anymore. We're looking at what's in front of us, lost focus, right? So, but I think some people actually kind of give up on their dream. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe they just get comfortable. They just decide, I'm going to make myself as comfortable as I can here because I don't see any way that I can get out of this particular situation. You know what I mean? For somebody like that, how do they wake up their dream? How do they wake up that creativity? Is it not in them? Or are they not doing something right?
I think that's a great question. And I think there are two things that come to mind when you ask it. I go back to the previous segment, and I think there's a lot we can learn from the dreamers themselves. Mm-hmm. If you think about, you grew up in a small town in, Pueblo, Mexico, wherever, right? Mm-hmm. And mom and dad pack you a knapsack and guesstimate, because they've not taken that road, but guesstimate, you'll need about this much food to get there. Mm-hmm. You should be there in a couple days. Mm-hmm. You head out with strangers you don't know. Mm-hmm. And so there's a part of the journey that is really about watching the two cheeks in front of you and trusting that, okay, well, mom and dad told me that the dream they have, that they've deposited in me, that I have, can be fulfilled if I follow this person. That's all you got is the instructions to follow them to get to where you got to go. Mm-hmm. So I think there's that first understanding that there's going to be a point at which you haven't realized the dream, that what's around you might look unfamiliar, but you got to stay and trust that you're on that path. But you may want to give up because they said it would be 2 moons before you got there. Mm-hmm. And you're embarking on the 3rd moon. Mm-hmm. Well, now that's fear, fatigue, and, the little bit they put in your knapsack been gone.
Right.
1.5 moons ago.
Right.
So you're now kind of in this place where, well, if I camp here, now I'm really somewhere I don't know where I'm at. Mm-hmm. If I go back, I know what's there, but I still got to go 2 moons back to get there, and I'm already out of grub. So I think part of how you push through that is remembering where you came from. The fear is a tool, right? It's either a tool for success or it's destructive. And if you use the fear the right way, it can press you through. I can be hungry for a moon. I could probably be hungry for 2 more moons because of how much I want that dream. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the first thing is you have to remember the fear and where you came from and reason yourself forward. And you also have to remember what it is that you're working towards versus settling. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right. I think a lot of people get to settling because for them, I think our minds play tricks on us, right? Well, you're doing better than you were.
Right.
So, this is okay, right? You're okay. But what happens to us as human beings when we stop dreaming, right? Go back to the passage. If the passage says he'll do exceedingly above what I can ask or imagine, we forget that I have to be asking and imagining in order for him to outperform. If I don't ask and I stop imagining, what am I living for?
So it sounds like the power is in your hands, technically. The power to activate, the key is in your hands, I guess. You know what I mean? And you have to turn the key in order for everything to start going. And so dreaming is, in essence, you turning that key. That's the first step in, let's go. You know what I mean? So that's interesting. I just think, I find it interesting that you can have a household where one child can go to college or to the military and go on to live a, productive life, and the other child grew up in the same household can go on to do 20 years in the feds for, whatever. I mean, you have these scenarios where one kid makes it, the other kid just doesn't. He just picked another path. So sometimes I wonder what pushes one to dream higher, and maybe that was his dream. His dream was to get a lot of money, and he just made some wrong choices in how to get a lot of money. You know what I mean? And then ended up paying for it. So,
Well, I like that you said dream has got to be specific, and I know that's going to be one of the tenets. Mm-hmm. But I think we also have to recognize this is where, again, the previous segment, I love that you brought that to the table, because where the government plays a part is an enabler. We enable fulfillment. Your dream is here. We hold that in place. So if you can get here, the opportunity's here. Now, you still have to do the work, but the opportunity's here. Mm-hmm. In the same way, you have to have someone as an enabler. You have to recognize there are oftentimes, and then there is always an antagonist to your dream. Sometimes that antagonist is in us. Mm-hmm. It is our own insecurity, our own fear, our own laziness. People don't want to talk about it, but sometimes we just lazy.
Absolutely.
We just don't. We just lazy. We won't do that work.
Absolutely.
Other times you have folks around you as dream killers. Mm-hmm. But because they're good people to hang out with for a party, or they're good people to talk to about stuff that's not related to your dream, you keep them around. Sometimes it's parents and guardians who are ill-equipped to recognize that they're killing your ability to dream, mm-hmm. that heap things on you that are unrelated. You're going to be a doctor. Because I always wanted to be a doctor. And you can be a doctor. Yeah, but I want to be a mechanic. My dream is to be the best mechanic and fix every car in this town.
Right.
That's all I want to do. I want to use that same skill, but I want to apply it here to help people in my community. But you could be a doctor. But this is what I dream to do. You go into med school, right? And the frustration of fighting to be heard and to be seen and have your dream recognized can lead people. Maybe that person goes on to be a doctor, but an alcoholic, divorced 3 or 4 times, no relationship with the kids in the first marriage or the second,
because
and on their way not to having you see what I'm saying? Because of dream killers, exactly. So I think that we have to recognize they're dream killers, and when you see someone not living their dream, we all have to play an active part in being dream enablers. Those of us who understand the importance of dreaming.
That's heavy, man. That's heavy. I think the fulfillment of the dream, that was somewhere that took me, what you just said, because I never thought of that. But the fulfillment of the dream is so important, because you're right. success, you could almost measure success by that, worldly success, by the fulfillment of the dream. Because if the dream is not fulfilled, the true dream, you fulfilled your parents' dream by becoming a doctor or going to college or whatever they want you to do. That fulfills their dream. But then if you're not fulfilled, then you start looking for things to fill up on because you're not filled. So that's heavy, I think. And I think it speaks to the importance of cultivating the dream. You know what I mean? In general, I don't think we talk about that enough. So,
I one of the things, and I think this conversation maybe crystallizes this more than some others. Part of the desire we had in doing this was, we have these conversations. We hope they're thought provoking to other people, and we hope that folks will find value in them, share them, and connect with people because we don't think we're alone, right? Thinking about this stuff.
Sure.
The idea, of course, is that we would love to see this grow to reaching thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions even, right? Mm-hmm. But to be able to impact and influence lives. That's the dream for the show. Part of that is exhausting what we think is gifting and ability to connect with people. Mm-hmm. And that's, we're using our passion, our natural God-given gifts to try to create an opportunity for others to be inspired. The dream to do that at a much larger scale. Mm-hmm. But if we don't, we haven't stopped showing up. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you show up as if there are already millions of people watching or millions of people listening and they're tuning in and thinking that putting the time in to make sure the conversation touches on the things that we think matter versus mailing it in and saying, yeah, you could be a dreamer too. And that's it, right? That's what it looks like. I think sometimes we get caught with big things looking for, well, what does that look like? It looks like that. Mm-hmm. You don't let your dream sit in the back of the closet as you pile a bunch of stuff on it in your mind that has nothing to do with you. You have to put time in to work towards that. Mm-hmm. And I know in the next episode when we start talking about the tools and the tenets, that's where we'll be able to give people a lot more. Big Damn, I know we got to get to some Dap DNA, and I hate to table the conversation here, but I would like to ask you one more question. If you were going to rate the importance of dreaming on a scale of 1 to 10, and the importance of dreaming to people surviving, coming out of this pandemic, thriving, what would you give it? What grade would you give it, and why?
1 to 10, probably somewhere around 2 or 3 is where I would put it. If I had to rate it. Yeah. I think number one to me is always going to be believing. You have to have the faith first. You know what I mean? What good is a dream?
So 1 being the most important, 2 being the second most important.
Yeah, I thought you meant rated
from
1 to 10.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's fine. 1 to 10. Okay. That's good. That'll work.
No. Okay, I got you. On a scale of 1 to 10, yes. Right. It would be up around, yeah. It'd be 9, 8, 9 or 10. It'd be up there. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Definitely very important.
No, I love it. So you say believing. So believing is a good one. I know that's going to end up being one of the major tools that you throw out as well as a tenet. Sure. I agree with you. I think making time to dream is so important. People. If you remember when we were younger, stop daydreaming. Stop daydreaming. Stop all that daydreaming. You need to get out here and actually do. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to think differently. I believe we now need to make time. No matter what your age is, you need to sit back and take a blank canvas. And if I could write what the next 10 years of my life look like, blow the doors off that thing and imagine something you've never considered possible, something you know in your heart on paper is impossible. I'm a 5'3", 135-pound, semi-coordinated, maybe can play playground next to the last person picked athlete. Mm-hmm. But I want to be great. Okay. Dream it.
Yeah.
Dream it. And then see what you can do. I'm gonna go out and start dribbling every day like that. It's like you remember playing. You go out to the court, playground, or go to the gym. There's that one guy. He is playing like he's playing for the chip. He's out there D'ing up at 100%. I mean, he wants to call every fouls. He got all the moves. I'm
not mad at him.
That's your guy, though. That's your guy. That is who we are trying to get everyone to be. Real quick, Big Dan, I want to take a moment and recognize our other partner who's been with us a while. We just announced this over on Game Time. If you haven't been tuning in, Samira Jacobs, founder, CEO, co-CEO with her mother, just turned 13 years old. She is now officially a teenager. Before her 13th birthday, she can say she started a successful business.
Talk about a dreamer.
There's a dreamer for you. Take a note from her. Samira Jacobs, founder and co-CEO of Daptime, has brought us an amazing product in her bath bombs and her body scrubs and new things she's working on. She's working on hand lotion as well, and continues to grow and expand her vision for Daptime. What I can tell you is this all organic, all natural product is truly amazing and affordable. So when you get a moment, visit their website, www.daptime.com. Buy yourself 10 pieces. They're all under $10, so buy yourself several items, share some with your friends and family, and evangelize the word. Daptime 2R1. Big Dame, time for some Dap DNA. Dame's nuggets of wisdom and affirmation. What you got for us, bro?
Welcome to the principal's office. You're probably used to the principal's office being associated with trouble, but this principal's office is not like that. In this office, we analyze life lessons in an attempt to get to a higher elevation and vibration. Without any further ado, today's principle is ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. A lot of times it's been said, we talked about dreaming today. We talked about getting to your dream. Is it difficult? Is it easy? How do you power through those tough times? But it's always said that you should take the path of least resistance. That's something that I hear a lot of times. Well, when it comes to dreaming, when it comes to living, when it comes to actually doing and being productive, that's not necessarily good, because as AJ told us earlier, as you're dreaming and you got that knapsack packed and you're on your way to the promised land, when it gets tough, that's when you're powered, you're going harder towards your dream, because you don't have anything to go back to. You go back to hardship. If you had a big screen color TV waiting on you, refrigerator full of food, heat, air, clean running water waiting on you, comfortable place to lay your head, you might, after that first moon, you might turn around and say, you know what? My legs hurt a little bit. I'm going back home. But because you don't have that, because you have not so great living conditions and not so great opportunities, you know what? You tell yourself, you know what? I got to keep going. I don't have any tomorrow. I don't have nothing to go back to. There is no opportunity for me there. And that's what this is talking about. Anytime you're working towards something, if you're coming from a place of ease, it's going to be very hard for you to push through to the promised land. But if you're in a tough spot, look at it as an opportunity to grow, because anytime you hit a tough spot, that just means you're about to level up. It means it's time to go to the next level. There's this is not time to look back. This is not time to retreat. It's time to push further, because the end is ahead of you, not behind you. So ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. That's one to grow on.
Big Dame. Dope nugget. As you were talking, I thought about a dreamer, and I think it'd be great for us to highlight a few as we go through this next couple episodes. Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith is, to me, one of the greatest examples, one of those really great examples of a dreamer realizing success, but not necessarily, if you look at the whole story, you have to know he was dreaming for something so much bigger than himself. Goes to an HBCU, not one of the most prominently known, Winston-Salem, good school, definitely a good school, got a good education, played basketball scholarship, probably dreamed of playing ball at the next level. But, you you're coming from way far to get to the league when you talk about coming from Winston-Salem. And then, becomes a sports reporter, a beat writer for the Sixers, forges a good relationship with Allen Iverson, has a good relationship with the folks in Philadelphia in the sports world there, but navigates his way to getting a show finally on ESPN. You may remember, quite frankly, was his first endeavor there. And really liked his show, liked his format, kind of the Arsenio Hall meets sports kind of vibe. But wasn't long on the air before it's canceled and he's gone. And you think, wow, okay, maybe he could have gave up, go back to being a writer. I mean, not a bad life to be rolling around as a beat writer, but he continued to hold on to his dream. He felt he had a bigger voice, felt he could do more on a larger platform, worked his way on to First Take as Skip Bayless's co-host, and from there builds to the point where he takes over as the main guy. Not only is he, and you can learn a lot about a person's dream by what they do with their platform. He gets there, and it's not long before he's in that position that he is reaching out and pulling in. He regularly recognizes Mike Wilbon as a mentor. So again, we'll talk about the tools in the next episode, but here's a dreamer that I think we both want to celebrate and acknowledge and tell people, if you don't know how to dream, if you don't know how big you should dream, look at people like Stephen A. Smith, learn their story. And the more you learn about them, you don't have to agree with everything they say. You don't have to like everything about how they get down. That's his dream. But if you look at what he's doing with his life and look at how he's changed his life, I think his last contract he signed, he's getting paid $10 million a year. To go from a beat writer to $10 million a year. He's traveling in circles that let him rub shoulders with superstars and legends of a game he obviously loved. He dribbled to get a scholarship and play ball in college. Here's a guy living his dream. And that is the goal of this series. We want to help everyone who listens to this live your dream. Big Dame, ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. Great nugget. Thank you for dropping that. Pete Nice, thank you for always dropping the needle on the one and cutting on the break. But the three of us really want to thank you, Daptime listeners, for tuning in and hopefully liking, sharing, and adding your voice. If you're catching us on YouTube TV, remember to hit that subscription notice there and the notification bell so that you can get plugged in every time Pete Nice drops something new. You can catch us on social media at Twitter. We're at Daptime, Dap_time. On Instagram, we're at Daptime21, and on YouTube, on Facebook at Daptime. Whatever you do, however you do it, be sure to share it with at least 5 friends, preferably 10, so we can build on this community and this movement. We'll leave you as we always do. When you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, there is your competition. We out. Peace.